And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. We're at Sycamore Crossing in downtown Blue Ridge. And the background noise you may hear is just small town America starting up this beautiful Friday morning, this Memorial Day weekend. And again, I want to welcome Dr. Whaley here with his beautiful tie. Thank you for wearing that beautiful tie.
Every day, every Memorial Day, 4th of July, you know, I wear that tie, Veterans Day, and I'm proud of it. I've got my Vietnam service button over there, too.
I'm very proud of that tie. Before we get started, our Ask the Doc segment, don't miss at 9 o'clock. We're going to be talking about the FYN TV Fetch Your News interns. We're going to have a couple show up this morning, and we're going to be talking about our interns and how you can get involved in that program next school year. Dr. Whaley, I'm here also. KT, sorry. I'm getting used to you just jumping.
The millennial conservative.
Show right now.
The millennial conservative.
America's
millennial conservative. All right.
First of all, before we get started, as a veteran, Memorial Day, and I just want to give you the opportunity to share a thought that you may have, and I'm pretty presumptuous that you have a thought this morning where this is concerned. I
got a email the other day that I saved and sent around that called the Virtual Wall, that has a website you can go to and bring up every veteran that has died in our wars going back to the War of 1812. And I went through there to pick out, and in Georgia it's got it by cities, and I went in there and picked out the boy from my high school whose sister I dated, whose body still hasn't been recovered in Vietnam. And I focused my attention on one kid, and his name was Thomas Condrey. Tom was the quarterback at North Fulton High School. His older sister's name was Mary Ellen. I dated her when I was 13. And Tom was shot down as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam in the Tet Offensive of 1968 when I was in Vietnam. And his body's never been recovered. It's, you know, if you focus on somebody you know or somebody in your family that gave their life for this country, it's very sobering, and it's not a picnic time for the memorial service when they have it at the Veterans Park. I'd encourage everybody to go, and then the rest of the weekend visit with your family and enjoy the freedom that they gave you. But this is a big deal to the families of the people that have served, because they've all got somebody that they put their mind on.
We need
to get off of that.
Well, I want to say I go to the Memorial Day services, and I go through and I shake hands with the veterans and thank them, because they're standing there remembering somebody that didn't come home.
That's right. Every one of them.
Every one of them
yeah.
are standing there remembering somebody that didn't come home. And in World War II, obviously, I can read about that war in history. I did not serve in Vietnam, but I was in the generation where the older brothers did go off. And I went to Washington, D.C., and I visited the World War II Memorial and World War I, but I went over to the Vietnam Wall. And I watched a man from a distance over there looking for a name. When I got close enough, and he was with his wife, I got close enough when he found the name, he started telling the story to his wife about serving with him. And I just, and we need to remember that. It's a beautiful 3-day weekend, but it's not a picnic for the men and women that didn't come home.
Yeah, I also want to say something about the peacetime military, because you've got wars that you don't even think about. You've got the Korea conflict that's been going on for 50 years.
Right.
You got 30,000 people serving on that border. You don't really realize that 300 people or so have been killed in conflict on that border. Every time you graduate a class of fighter pilots or helicopter pilots, even in peacetime, some of them are going to get killed in training accidents. You hear every once in a while 2 helicopters bang together at Fort Bragg on a training mission, and eight soldiers were killed in Fort Bragg in training. I mean, so even those people that die during peacetime or dying for our country and dying doing their job. And it's a big deal. I think the idea of compulsory military service and the registering for the draft, this is a very philosophical point, creates a bond even among people who never had to serve because they were always vulnerable to being drafted. And it brings a certain ethos or a certain camaraderie to the country that losing the draft took away. And let's get into Ask the Doctor.
I apologize for that. I didn't know I did.
You'd have your sound on, didn't you?
I didn't know it. I'm always telling everybody else, and I.
All right.
Okay, that was a great segue. That was our bumper that says segue. Now, you always come, and we appreciate it. I want to say thank you. You always come and bring a medical study that we're going to talk about this morning. But which question do we want to go with first?
Well, let's leave the questions for a minute because we're sitting in front of Broken Bull.
I agree.
We're sitting in front of Broken Bull. And frequently in this last year, I have talked about things that you read in the National Enquirer or on the front page of the newspaper that sound like huge deals and may be huge deals, but are not scientifically proven, done by a research protocol that you can hang your hat on. You know, you're pretty sure that when the sun goes down, the night's going to wake up, you're going to come up tomorrow morning. Right. That's pretty well proven. But this recent world is flat stuff that your people are getting on the conspiracy YouTubes, like my wife. We're pretty sure the world's not flat. Well, anyway, I'm going to segue right. Yesterday there was a huge study that, a hugely touted article about being able to diagnose pancreatic cancer early by a blood test that finds a protein in the blood that is secreted by pancreatic cancer cells, and that is called a liquid biopsy. You just draw the blood and do it. Now everybody's, my gosh, I need to go get that test. It'll be 10 or 15 years before that ever comes up where you can use it. But it was on the front page of the newspaper, front page of the medical newspaper yesterday, where a real placebo-controlled double-blind trial of scientific validity was done on the marijuana oil, which we have talked about here for a year. And that was the study about the seizures. All of the prior articles and everything that was said at the Georgia legislature was a mother standing up telling the story about her child. And then the critics would say, well, that's anecdotal. It's a series of one. Well, they'd have 4 mothers there. But that's not scientific. It sounds good and it plays well to the press. But yesterday, a huge study done in Great Britain. So it wasn't paid for by a drug company, took children with a specific seizure disorder that begins immediately after birth, and they took a huge number. I've forgotten exactly how many it was, but it might have been 300 or so, and they gave them oil, either this cannabis oil that we've been talking about here that's in the product that people are using in Georgia. There are 29 states where it's legal, and then other states where it's allowed but you can't buy it, like Georgia, versus the exact same oil with none of that in it. And it was dramatic. It decreased the seizure frequency in these babies, birth to 2 years, by 50% or more. And that's a huge number to a kid that's having 12 or 15 seizures in a day. All right. The side effects of it were the exact same side effects as every other seizure drug that they use in that group of children. Some of the kids would get nauseated, they might vomit. You know, every medicine's got some fleas on the dog, but it was dramatic that drug works. So I think we're able to now say that without a doubt there is a place for some marijuana product to be available legally for the relief of suffering in children with seizures. Got it. Now, you can feed back off of that, and I'm going to move to one more study.
Well, one more thing on that, though, but we said because, and we're sitting here in the background of Broken Bull, and we have a personal friend back here that, so it validates mom.
It validates mom.
It validates mom.
And the other moms. And the other moms.
Right. I've been in here, and I won't go into detail
No.
right now, but Angel, and we know Angel because she's talked about Angel on social media.
Well, didn't you interview her?
Yes,
here?
yes.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I didn't want to violate the confidence, but you interviewed her here on this couch.
Her right here, and Angel has just her testimony. The oil, her seizures went dramatically down.
Right, and she's not 2; she's 20 or something.
Right,
She's older.
exactly.
Yeah, but yes, it validates the mother and it validates all the other mothers.
And nothing against, let's not take the lawmakers to task right now, but a lot of times on the floor of the House, whatever state you're in, the emotional stories get played out. And I hate to call them played out, but the emotional stories get lined up. And sometimes they pass legislation based on emotion, and this is good.
This is science.
This is good stuff that they can work with now.
That's correct.
We need emotion and facts. And I'm curious, is the oil, is it psychoactive? It's not, is it?
No, it's totally not psychoactive.
And that's a whole other aspect to it that is appealing to the mass market.
And it's cheap. I think it probably won't be cheap if they ever get to where they're selling it, because the drug companies will find a way to make it expensive. All right. So now there's a double-blind study. We're going to go to something we answered a question a couple of weeks ago about arthritis, supplements, turmeric, and things about how it might improve arthritis. There was another. I consider this to be a big deal, because we discussed it about 8 or 9 months ago, that supplements and arthritis, and the one we're going to talk about today is chondroitin sulfate. Now, you can get chondroitin for your puppy dog over at the feed store, but chondroitin sulfate for people, we have always said that the chondroitin does not relieve pain, but diminishes the speed with which your arthritis advances. So this large study, again, was done in England. Here comes your Tupelo tea.
Oh, Tom.
All right, Tom. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Oh, and it's
hot right off the bat.
Yes.
Where's your Pink Panther?
All right. So, chondroitin. This is
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I understand.
I had to do that.
All right. So now this is a placebo-controlled trial, but instead of having just 2 products there, like the oil and the marijuana one, this has got chondroitin. It's got a placebo, and it's got this really good non-steroidal anti-inflammatory called Celebrex. Now, Celebrex is the one that you had to get a pre-authorization, and it was $300 a month. Well, now Celebrex is generic, and it can be obtained relatively cheaply. This, again, is a study of 2 years in length. And so everybody gets the same capsule. It's either chondroitin sulfate, it's Celebrex, or it's a placebo. In the first month, the amount of pain relief or activity improvement and everything is exactly the same for Celebrex as it is for chondroitin, as it is for placebo. Now, wait a minute now. We've always said placebos are really good because they look perfect, they look great. But between the 30th day and 6 months, then chondroitin and Celebrex are precisely the same in the measurements of activity and mobility and so forth, and then they carry all the way out to 2 years. So that chondroitin, which you can purchase in the pharmacy, it needs to be pharmaceutical grade, will work as well as Celebrex to diminish the discomfort and increase your mobility as the drug Celebrex. Now, chondroitin has no pain relieving qualities itself. Celebrex can relieve pain immediately. So Celebrex is much faster in its activity. If you have an acute injury and you got a swollen up knee, you can take all the chondroitin in the world, not going to help you. Celebrex, within 4 hours, your pain will start going down. So there's 2 different things. And just in terms of mobility and joint destruction, chondroitin and Celebrex then were equal. That gives some weight again now to the idea that you don't have to go to the pharmaceutical company, but a faster fix that probably in the long haul will be cheaper, since the drug's now generic, would be the Celebrex. So there. That finishes the discussion we had a few weeks ago.
No, these are great because we can always count on Dr. Whaley. We want to thank the Georgia Cancer Specialist for sponsoring this segment, and we can always count on Dr. Whaley of looking into these studies and bringing them here on FYN TV and sharing them.
All right, now your questions.
Okay. We have to have short answers. That's the best way I can put it.
All right, go ahead.
But this one, I'm gonna add a little personal touch to this question. Will certain types of food affect your sleep? So when Mom says, I might have heard this before, Mom says, don't eat popcorn before you go to bed. It'll cause you to have nightmares. So will certain types of food affect your sleep and affect your dreams?
Well, first of all, yes, of course it'll affect your sleep. But people always said, take a warm glass of milk before you go to sleep. Milk, cheese, turkey have in it a amino acid called tryptophan. Tryptophan has sedative side effects. It can help you sleep. There are many things that can interfere with your sleep. Certainly we know that coffee, Tab, Diet Coke has caffeine in it, but many people don't realize that decaffeinated coffee has enough caffeine in it to interfere with your sleep.
Yes, it does.
Tea has enough caffeine in it to interfere with your sleep. Soft drinks do. Chocolate does. Now, spicy foods can interfere with your sleep. High protein things like eating a steak before you go to bed, that interferes with your sleep. Fat interferes with your sleep. Carbohydrates bring blood to your stomach, which makes you drowsy. Why? When you eat a big old Thanksgiving meal, then you want to take a nap.
Right.
And so those things can stimulate your sleep. In terms of making you dream or having nightmares, it's mostly spicy foods and a bunch of the spaghetti and pizza sauce we were having a few weeks ago at the other place.
A lot for me.
So when Mom told me that eating popcorn late at night could cause nightmares.
No, she was wrong. Popcorn won't do it.
Well, I'm glad you told her she was wrong and it was left up to me. Let me move on to this one. Now this is an interesting one because I no longer have a gallbladder. And is there a type of cleanse, any type of cleanse for your gallbladder or your liver? Is there a cleanse?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this is really important because the idea of cleanse is a very, very highly touted in this community of non-medical people, that your body can be cleansed of toxins by doing certain things, and every single solitary suggested liver cleanse is dangerous. They consist of some form of fasting, some form of enemas or diuretics or laxatives, and then they throw in either some really expensive product that's got a bunch of herbs and spices in it that we clearly have gone through in many of these before, are worthless or sometimes harmful. And then they'll tell you to drink lemon juice or eat grapefruits or something. Every one of those is harmful. None of those do your gallbladder or your liver any good. Now, when they talk about doing stuff that's good for your gallbladder and good for your liver, it sounds like every other discussion we've ever had here. Low fat, 6 servings of vegetables every day. You like that one? Limit your alcohol intake, exercise, all of those things can increase and improve liver function. Won't do a thing for the person with a high cholesterol level that's going to cause gallstones, and some gallstones aren't that. But they basically know the cleanses are all harmful. The stuff that you sell, and I went online to look, and the cheapest one was $20 for 30 capsules, and the most expensive one was $150 for 30 capsules. And if you get into the content, every one of the contents are the same. And they're all various herbs and chemicals, and most of which is coming from China and costs a few cents a ton, and it's just worthless. Don't do it.
Well, I appreciate that one.
But exercise.
What about ginger? What about?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Ginger's not going to do anything for your liver. It's not going to do anything for your gallbladder, but you'll enjoy it.
Well, no health properties. No extra health properties.
extra,
detox?
no,
That's what it's touted as, though. That's what they sell it at the stores
detox, no cleanse.
Wow.
Now we had the turmeric a few
That's
weeks.
surprising.
We had the turmeric a few weeks ago, and the clinical trials of turmeric do show an antioxidant product, which you would then call cleansing or detoxifying. So it does have antioxidant products. And some of our supplements, we've already gone into that before. Vitamin D does, CoQ10 does, have some of those. But no, stuff you're going to buy at the health food store that's ground up and yellow, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Whaley. Again, also, as we always say, thank you for your service. Thank you for wearing that tie. And we appreciate you, and we want to thank the Georgia Cancer Specialist. You know, we all have Tupelo tea, and it's warm. So
warm Tupelo tea, everybody thanks you.
And I have to thank Tom over here at Tupelo Tea, Sycamore Crossing this morning, because I get here this morning, I don't know how to turn the fans off. It's a little cool, and I'm getting an extra breeze, and I'm like, wow, I'm cold. And so thank you, Tom.
He came early.
Yeah, Tom come in early, got hot. Now it warms up. You go in there and get a, what's my favorite tea? You remember it?
Pink Panther.
Pink Panther, right?
It's his favorite movie, too.
You like that? Pink Panther. You've never seen it. Slamming this stuff. I'm your host, BKP. Thank you, Dr. Whaley. Enjoy your weekend. And we're going to be back with KT, and we're going to have a little talk here with America's millennial conservative.
Yes, America's millennial conservative.
I can't remember that.
If no one can remember,
yeah, not everybody.
We might want to come up with a new name.
You don't meet a millennial conservative every day, so you have to get used to it.
This is true.
We'll be back right after these messages.